On Dynamite Wednesday night, Darby Allin opened the show in a match with Jay Lethal. And later on in the match, somebody in a Sting coat and mask. We have not seen Sting in many weeks. I don't know if he's nursing an injury or what the deal is. Maybe he's just getting a vacation. But we have not seen Sting in several weeks. Someone in a Sting coat and mask took out Darby with a baseball bat. And in the ring, Jay Lethal hit the lethal injection, and he covered him, and he got the win. So you have the announcers now on commentary, and they're questioning whether or not that was the real Sting, right? Tony Schiavone, is that the real Sting? That doesn't look like the real Sting. Again, is it 1999 or is it 2022? I wasn't sure. It ends up that they unmask this guy, and the fake Sting is Cole Carter from The Factory. If you were to go to most wrestling fans, and you were to say the words Cole Carter from The Factory, they would probably think you were talking about a random person named Cole Carter who worked at an actual factory. Nobody knew who this fucking guy was. If you can get less than a reaction, that's what he got on Wednesday. But it was to set up the actual big reveal, which came a couple of minutes later. Jeff Jarrett showed up. He was decked out in all black. He hit Darby over the head with his guitar, busted him open. And then he cut a promo. Now, he didn't get much in the way of heat at first until he started talking. Then he got some heat during his promo. And he got chants of "You Still Suck." But he cut this promo on not only Darby, but on AEW as if he's, here to take out the members of the locker room. Whatever the story is they're going to go with Jeff Jarrett. I guess now he's aligned with Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh. And Cole Carter from The Factory. Jarrett was let go by WWE after Triple H took over in July. This was only weeks after he started as their vice president of live events. But you just stop for a moment and take a look at the year that this man has had. Look at the year 2022 for 55-year-old Jeff Jarrett. He started the year wrestling on the GCW pay-per-view at the Hammerstein Ballroom. He had that match with Effie, right? And that was a big deal. That GCW pay-per-view. So much so that I bought it and I reviewed it and I regret it because it wasn't very good. So he's wrestling in GCW to start the year. Then WWE hires him as their new VP of live events. Then he did a guest referee spot at SummerSlam. Vince McMahon steps down. Triple H takes over. He boots him out only weeks after he started his new gig in favor of his friend Road Dogg. Road Dogg takes his place. The Roadie replaced Double J. The night after SummerSlam, he was in the main event of Ric Flair's final match, tagging with Jay Lethal against Flair and Andrade. And now he ends the year working in a pretty prominent position for AEW. Not only as a talent, but as their new director of business development. Now, Jarrett was a heat magnet for Flair's final match. I thought they did a tremendous job with that. He's an old school guy. He knows how to get heat. He can be useful in limited doses. But AEW does not need Jeff Jarrett on television when they barely have enough TV time for the people they already have. Tony Khan found a way to use Sting in a way that makes sense, right? And Sting, I think, has given the rub to Darby. I think Darby has benefited by being aligned with Sting. And I think the Sting story, Sting is interesting because Sting is actually one of the people you can point to in terms of these big names or legends that Tony Khan has brought in, where Tony Khan has handled Sting perfectly every step of the way. He really has. And what he's done also in this run that Sting has had, it gave Sting a proper send-off that he never got in WWE. The way his run ended in WWE left a very bitter taste, I think, not only in his mouth, but in the mouths of people who were hoping that Sting would go out on a high note, or on a higher note than he did. Tony Khan has given those fans, and he has given Sting the chance to write that final chapter of his story in a much better way than he had in WWE. So I cannot say anything bad about Sting's run in AEW as far as what they've done with him and how they've used him. Watching Jarrett out there on Wednesday hitting people with guitars, though, and calling them slapnuts, I didn't know if I was watching AEW or if I was watching TNA. So this looks like it's building to a tag team match against Darby and Sting. I would assume it'll be Lethal and Jarrett, which was the team against Flair and Andrade. They may be partners again against Darby and Sting. That probably is going to be the match at Full Gear. They could do a singles match with Jarrett and Sting at some point. I really don't have any interest in seeing that. A tag team match would be fine. But as far as Jarrett's role on TV, I don't think he should have much of one. And my hope is that the majority of how he spends his time will be behind the scenes, because that's where I feel like he could actually be a big asset for Tony Khan. Tony Khan did an interview with Sports Illustrated and actually gave an answer. I was shocked. He actually answered a question. They asked him, the hiring of Jeff Jarrett is significant for AEW. His new position as Director of Business Development will have a focus on live events. Does that mean that we will see an emphasis on AEW live events in 2023? And Tony said, yes. It makes a lot of sense for AEW to expand our live calendar next year and beyond. There are many places in the US and all over the world where AEW is very popular, and this is a strategic opportunity to expand. We also have Ring of Honor. There are a lot of exciting possibilities for us in live events, and Jeff has such an extensive experience as a third-generation businessman in pro wrestling. He's got tremendous experience in a number of fields, including live event promotions and international distribution. His insight and knowledge are very valuable, and I am excited to have him on our great team. Behind the scenes, I think it's a good hire. It's good for Tony Khan to get more wrestling minds helping him out, because right now he's wearing so many different hats, and yet he only has one head. Well, I mean two, but you don't put a hat on that. But you know what I mean. All right, he's wearing all of these different hats. That's just not sustainable. Jarrett can help when it comes to international business. He has experience with that from his Impact days. He can help with house shows. That's what he was doing with WWE before they got rid of him. And they didn't get rid of him because he did a bad job. There were reports that he was actually doing a good job. Now, how much of that, credit goes to Jeff Jarrett, and how much of that credit is just the fact that WWE live events are actually way up, even after they booted him out. Their ticket sales and live event business has been very strong for the last several months, the opposite of AEW. But he was getting high marks for his job. He got booted out because he wasn't a Triple H guy. That's the only reason that he lost his gig there. So he could be of value now in that same position to Tony Khan. And if AEW starts running some house shows next year, which I think is a good idea, especially for the younger talent that may not be getting the reps that they need, getting them on the road a few times a month to work outside of, TV that they can barely get on, would be a good idea. But he's going to have to navigate a live event landscape that is not very strong right now for AEW. Not as strong as it was before. There's a lot of cities, they're struggling to move tickets. So maybe that's something that he can help with. Maybe he can help on the promotion end. If AEW is not doing a good enough job of promoting themselves in those local markets, that's another area where Jarrett could potentially be of help. So that's where I think he brings real value to Tony Khan. It's not so much the stuff on the air. It's the stuff he can do for them behind the scenes.